Divine knowledge that he had in that direction, which was to accumulate wealth and riches for his own personal desires. The Holy Quran describes his wealth, the treasures and the money that he amassed and collected by saying that it took around a dozen men of the greatest might to carry the keys to open the safes in which he put his money and his treasures. And the Quran in fact says that even those men of the strongest strength would lean left and right because of under the weight of the keys to open the safes in which he kept his money. And more than that, it is said that he was using his power and his money and everything he could to start fighting Musa alayhi salam. And the end result, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we made earth swallow him whole, him and his house. This is one example of someone who most likely may have used divine knowledge in the wrong way. We have another example, this one is not questionable. Because the Holy Quran clearly states what happened. It does not give his name. It only gives his description. We find his name in the narrations by the name of Bal'am bin Ba'urat. This man, again, from the people of Musa, the Holy Quran instructs the Holy Prophet to tell his people and tell them about the story of the one to whom we gave our signs. But he extracted himself out of them. He pulled himself out, and so the devil followed him and he became of those who went astray. And had we wanted to, we would have elevated him because of those signs that we gave him. But instead, he decided to cling to earth and to follow his low desires, his personal base desires. So his example, his parable, is like the dog. If you attack it, you see that its tongue is hanging. And if you leave it, you see that its tongue is still hanging. So the Quran is describing him and the nature that he has chosen for himself, despite what he has been given in terms of signs. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, imagine someone about whom God says, I have given him my signs. أُتْلُ عَلَيْهِمْ نَبَأَ الَّذِي آتَيْنَاهُ آيَاتِنَا. Clearly, there is no ambiguity about this. And yet we see that he still chose to use that divine knowledge for his own desires, as the Quran says. أَخْلَدَ إِلَى الْأَرْضِ وَاتَّبَعَ هَوَاهُ. Very clearly the Quran is establishing that divine knowledge is possible, but it comes with a condition. And this condition was respected by people like Ahlul Bayt with the knowledge that they were given. And the condition is that you never use that knowledge for your own desires. Ahlul Bayt, from the Holy Prophet to the last of our Imams, they live among the people using all the natural laws. Everything they do is based on natural laws. The only time that they tap into that divine blessing, the only time they go there is when the religion is at stake and it requires that divine intervention. It is not for themselves. They have to act as representatives of God on earth. And so, if we keep all of this in mind, and we come back to Imam al Hussain alayhi salam, and we ask again, why did the Imam engage in the kind of activities that he engaged in, knowing what was the outcome? The Imam knew that the situation of Islam had reached a point where it required a major sacrifice. And the sacrifice had to be his own life. His life was required to revive Islam. And his life was required to ensure the continuity of Islam for generations to come, so that it may reach people like us centuries later. Did the Imam know what was awaiting him? Of course the Imam knew. Did the companions of the Imam know? Of course they knew. And we have so many of the instances in which the Imam tells them again and again what would happen to them. Even till the last moment, some historians tell us, if we take ourselves back to the night of the 10th of Muharram, At night, we are told Imam al Hussain alayhi salam asked his son, Ali al-Akbar, to try to get some water. This is not usually mentioned a lot, but it's mentioned in the books of history. And we are told that Ali al-Akbar was actually successful. He reached the water and he was able to take some and come back to the camp. This is the night of the 10th. And when he came back, there was enough water for everybody to drink a little bit. And then the Imam told his companions, with the leftover water, which was not a lot, he instructed them and told them, all of you perform your final ghusl. This will be the last drop of water that you will have in this world. And after this, the Imam gave a historic sermon. The sermon that the Imam gave, and it is well known, and I'm sure that you will hear it over the next days and nights, the famous sermon that the Imam gave to fill his companions with confidence and faith and letting them know what will unfold in the events of the next day, the day of Muharram. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us understand the lives of Ahlul Bayt in a manner that allows us to best use the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us, whether they are material or immaterial, in a manner in which we use them and we are willing and ready to sacrifice them when the time is calling for their sacrifice. Assalamu ala al-Hussain wa ala Ali ibn al-Hussain wa ala awlad al-Hussain wa ala ashab al-Hussain wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi al-tayyibin al-tahirin.